Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. A quick disclaimer before we start. Anything I discuss in these recaps and in these videos is not a financial advice. We are not financial advisors. Everything is for educational and educational purpose only. Make sure you understand the risks involved. All right. So that being said, let's start. Let's start with a recap today, and a lot to learn today. I mean, it was not a crazy day, but before we go through that, we will recap everything before we recap the market. Let's do a quick introduction to anybody who's new to our YouTube accounts, new to our X accounts, or anybody who's new to the community. So all these recaps and all these teachings are based upon our repeatable system. Our repeatable system, the system that thousands of traders use across the world to trade consistently. This system is Ripster EMA Cloud system. We do not trade random. We trade with a repeatable system. We stick with the trend. When system tells us, only then we buy or sell or short. We trade repeatable setups. Setup is what you trade, system is how you trade. How do you find the setups? We find the setups with preparation. Be it a swing trade, day trade, or whatever setup it is, we find it by doing our preparation. Every morning, me and my team in the pre-market, live in the pre-market, I create this game plan live in the pre-market 20 to 30 minutes before the market open, and we create a game plan for the day. We have news plays, earning plays, we have index stocks, we have upgrade, downgrades. Today you will see there are a lot of upgrades and downgrades. I create support levels and resistance levels. We create those support and resistance levels, and then based upon those, we trade those setups rest of the day. We have initial bias. I provide an initial game plan, so how the traders can trade these stocks based upon that initial pre-market game plan. That game plan, that bias can change depending upon what we see after the market open. So our bias is very flexible. We move our bias. So anyways, in addition to that, we provide a bunch of other stuff to the traders to be ready for the day. We provide setups called day 2, day 3 setups. This is another strategy that I invented, day 2, day 3. I did a free webinar on this as well. We also provide the levels for indexes, ETFs, Mag 7. Mag 7 were not doing much today. I were actually a couple of losers there. But SPY, QQQ, all these levels are provided to the community members in the pre-market. In addition to that, we also trade crypto stocks. Crypto stocks, we provide these levels, so you can use these levels and trade the crypto stocks using these levels and the EMA cloud system. Coin was a pretty big one from these. We will take a look at that as well. In addition to that, we also trade futures in the community. We provide these future levels that you can trade. For today was a great day to trade the futures after 10:15 a.m. We'll recap that. Also, we trade low floats, IPOs, and we provide a plan on that as well. Nectar was really nice setup from our pre-market low float plan. We will recap that. So that being said, we are a community, one of the largest trading communities online. Not an alert or signal service, but an educational service with the community of the traders who trade a repeatable system, repeatable setups. We have a lot of webinars, PowerPoints, courses. Apart from so much I teach freely on my Ripster Education, my YouTube, where you'll find a lot of education that has changed lives over the year. We have a lot of content in our community. We have a bunch of tools there. We have 3 option flow scanners, stock scanners, news scanners, breaking news alerts, audio news alerts, Ripster cloud alerts, holds, unholds, order flow. We have tools worth actually $500, $600 free. They're per month, which are free in the community. I'm on the voice usually first few hours of the market open, guiding the traders through the trades. Anything I trade, even if I don't trade, I try to guide the traders through the setups, through our game plan and the market analysis overall, helping the traders navigate the day. I will show you my timestamp guidance on any setups that I guided. Not all the setups will trigger, but if I see something which is worth trading, I guide the traders through those trades. So we will look at a bunch of those trades today. So anyways, that's a quick introduction. Let's start with the first recap of the day. All right, so we're gonna start with the SPY QQQ today. It was a nice day. You know, if you look at all these charts, you see that QQQ is ready to break out of the all-time highs, touching the all-time highs, and then we see that we have SPY, which is also trying to go towards the all-time high. So bullish day, bullish, always analyze your daily charts, your weekly charts, although very tight range, because VIX is so down, the volatility has died down. There's not enough the same amount of volatility in the market that we had a month ago, 2 months ago. So the volatility has significantly died down. So, but anyways, let's see what was our plan in the pre-market. So let's go. Our plan on pre-market on SPY QQQ was simple. Use VIX 18, 18, 10 levels for bias. If VIX bounces 18, there will be some profit taking. If VIX breaks 18, and if it breaks 18, then we will gap and go. Watch the amateur move and 10 a.m. move. So 10 a.m. move was very important today because the move really came after 10 a.m. So first of all, what I tweeted even in the morning, let's see if I can show you that. What I tweeted in the morning, let's take a look here. Let's go back here and let's take a look at the morning SPY QQQ, right? So the way the market opened, right? So this is how it opened, right? It was bullish right off the gate, but it got a 10 a.m. rejections. It was bullish out of the gate. So what was happening? So when the market started the day, so the VIX started to bounce. So that was a problem this morning. The VIX was bouncing. So that's why we got this pullback, but market never broke this. So we tried the longs, but we stopped out. We tried the longs, we stopped out. So there was no morning longs and we went into this tight range, right? This tight range. So what I told the traders was the trade will come once we break out of this range. Until then, we will be in a chop. Overall, when the market held this range, that told you that it's a bullish day. Now I told the traders that we need to break out of the pre-market highs to get a long setup, and that came right around 10 15, right down 10 20. That time we started to break out. Something to note today, not all the sectors were strong today. The Mag 7 was very weak, but the semiconductors and the crypto sector was the strongest sector. So today you could find those strongest names in the strongest sectors, trade those. Some of our longs didn't work, were losers because Mag 7 was weak. We tried Meta, Amazon, and it was chop. But the SPY had a trend. Why did SPY had a trend? Because the financials were strong today. The financials were holding strong all day, helping the SPY. SPY is a big part of S&P is financials. So anyways, the long setup in the community was around 10 15 a.m. when we got that breakout here, right? So then when we saw this is the call, then came the breakout of pre-market highs. I told the traders, if you are long, there's a lot of room on the ATR. Always use ATR to trade. And that was a good time to trade your NASDAQ and SPY futures as well. The morning was choppy, right? So right at the open trades were choppy, loser, that's fine. But you got another setup right here, right here, right here, right here. So the guidance on this was when VIX starts to break down another 18, you take it long, just like our pre-market planning. And then we got this breakout, then we got this breakout. You add here or you add at this retest, and you hold it long. As long as it holds, you ride all the way up. So that was the bullish move. This was the setup, right? There was no setup here, not working, no setup here. Setup came here, setup came here, setup came here. So that was the setup, and setup came when VIX broke 18 and VIX faded all the way to 1733. As long as VIX is under 512, you can stay long, as you see the SPY and QQQs holding the longs, right? So that was the setup. That was the long, midday long that I guided the traders in the community. Our morning longs did not work. So that was the setup. Now, really nice setups on SPY QQQ. We are looking for a bullish continuation. Now, when the market was running, there were certain sectors, the software sectors, the cryptos, they were strong, and some sectors were weak. Regional banks were weak, XBI was weak, XLY was weak. So not everything was working. So but we did find some good setups, all-day trends, and we'll talk about it and see how that went. It was bullish day, but not everything or not every sector was running, and it was a tight range on the market as well. So that was our SPY and QQQ recap, and let's look at next. So what sector was strong today? So strong sector was SOXL. The semiconductors were strong, very strong actually. And the strongest semis in the market today were We had Nvidia, we had Taiwan Semi, we had ARM, we had AMD. So the whole sector was strong. Traders were trading AMD. We can look at the levels we had in the pre-market. You see the level 133.85, 135.77, Nvidia 146, ARM 150, 180, 150 to 30. If you look at these levels, pause the screen, and you could literally trade all those setups long based upon those setups. You break out long AMD here, and you go long ARM. That's why we provide these levels and for the traders in the community. So that was a strong sector. Nvidia did have a flow at the open. There was a lot of flow. So Nvidia, I mentioned the flow right at the open. So, and it's a strong sector, good flow. But after that, it kind of chopped out a bit, right? So let's look at some other names. So we are going to look at this Meta, which was our long at the open, but it didn't really work. So that was, kind of a loser at the open. And same for Amazon. I mean, it did push until 10 a.m., but then it went into the chop, So those two did not work, right? So because, I mean, you could long it again, but the morning trades did not work. Today was about 34.50 bounce, 34.50 bounce. You could trade that, but nothing special there. So those two trades were really, really not a good situation, although both of them had news, but the mag 7 were not strong enough. If mag 7 was running, SPY could have been more higher. The tech was basically strong because semiconductors were strong, the cloud stocks were strong, and crypto stocks were strong, right? So those were our Meta and Amazon, and you can see that those levels we had in the pre-market planning never really held. So that's why it kind of flushed and did not work for us. All right, let's look at what kind of worked for us. The first one that worked for us was Tesla. So what was a Tesla setup today? We had a big move on Tesla yesterday. We can always run next day. We can always not run next day. But the plan on Tesla was only long if 353 holds. Cautious of profit taking. I already told the traders in the pre-market that be cautious of profit taking. Yesterday we had a huge run. Beautiful day for us. But today we were not blindly going to buy it. That's why as soon as I told it was started to break down, I told the trader it's a profit-taking gap and crap short. You can short it, buy the puts, take it to the MTF. I gave the target of MTF and we hit the target MTF. So there was a money to be made there. Even if you short 352, 354 or short this bear flag, you could easily risk a couple $100 and make $1,000 or more on a small account. And of course, even if you had puts, they kind of worked out decent. They're decent as well. So that was a Tesla. Here's a timestamped recap here on the Tesla short guidance, and then we have the pre-market planning. So Tesla was a decent trade. We do not long blindly. This is where our system comes up. You might go to other communities, other traders. They will tell you buy the dip, buy the dip. We do not do it. We have a strict system. Not a single time I guided or alerted my traders that they should try the long. Even the calls, there was no calls on Tesla. It was super duper weak. Because when market is bouncing and Tesla cannot even bounce a little bit, that tells me it's a relative weakness and you need to stay away from there. And you see it's still selling off, right? If it breaks the MTF, it's going to flush back tomorrow. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but you can see that big move yesterday, big run, gap up, and then, gap up and gap and crap. That was your gap to fill on Tesla, right? So anyway, so that was a successful trade. Let's look at the next one here. All right, so now we're going to recap two trades which were also our day trades, but those were also our swing setups that I've been teaching or been sharing on Twitter as well. Swing setups. So we start with the coin, right? So what was happening on coin? So if you remember my last week's video when I gave this weekly setup, and you need to analyze this is a big weekly breakout, and that time our target was 300. And we did meet that 300 target. And then when 300 was being held, your stops at 300, you swing it with your stops at 300, and you just made 45, 60 bucks, right? So let me show you let me show you how these are the swing setups. I teach them in my swing webinar and also on ripstereducation.com. I have been teaching the swing setups for a long time on my various platforms that or if you want to just join, come to the community and you want to look at the webinars, you can do that too. But let's see what was I saying on coin. Let's go here. Let's take a look on coin and understand what the coin was actually doing. All right, so let's go back here. So we're gonna go back, we're gonna start from this setup. What did I say? Best looking, we'll talk about the day trade, but let's talk about the swing setup, right? We have a catalyst, stable coin, genius bill, so we have that bullish catalyst. Best looking setup. You need to start drawing your lines here: resistance, support, range. Build the range breakout setups. That will give you the confidence. And this was a weekly chart, right? So beautiful moves, good swing setup, chart idea, and then we started to push. We broke out that day only. We broke out, and we started to push. And you see from that breakout, you can look at the previous and the new you got. And I told the traders that if 300 holds, we hit 300. With 300 holds, we should see higher. Next breakout 315 for push to 350. So I gave that target of 350 on June 20th. All right, so you swing it, your risk is 300, you buy the calls, whatever you want to do. We did few days of consolidation, and look at what happened today. So I also updated my Twitter followers. 300 held like a beast, 300 always big level, trying to break out. And you always look at the bigger picture when you're swinging it. If I'm swinging it versus 300, I'm risking $4 or $5, but I'm making $40. So I'm risking 400 and I'm making $4,000 on that swing setup. Of course, you can buy the options, but you have to understand the risk reward on these options. But this was the breakout setup, guys. Look at this beautiful breakout setup. And I mentioned to my traders in the community that 350 is our target. We hit 332s, and then we hit towards our 350 target, almost closed there, right? So let's see what was our plan today on let's look at our plan on coin today and see how did we trade coin here. So let's go to our crypto sheet here and look at the levels: 314.25, 315.55. So those were our levels, to trade and with Ripster clouds. And let's look at coin now. Let's see what coin actually was doing all day. So I saw this curl. You see it was dipping. As soon as I saw this curl, I told my traders in the community that coin is a curl long setup. Your stops are right at 312. You take long right away, 314, 315, that's fine. And then I said the breakout is over this 315 level. Was a weekly breakout, and then we have a pre-market high breakout. So that's why I continuously posted the chart setups, that you look at the bigger picture so you can hold your trades. You don't really look at smaller time frame, you're looking at a bigger time frame even when you're day trading, right? So the first target I gave in the community was 330. The next target I gave was 335. 335 was the next target. And then we broke the flag. We broke the nice little flag here, and then we pushed higher. And you just keep moving your stops up. And then 340 target, another flag breakout. No need to stop out. You just need to respect the clouds. Keep you moving your stops up like I show you every day, right? So my final target I gave was, you can see here, final target 350 and stops at 341. We didn't really hit 350, but we were close. And I told the traders to close it at the end of the day when we broke this 343. If you want to swing it, then your risk is 340. But you can see that from this curl, we again we ran. How much did we ran? 315 to 340. You literally risking $400-$500 if you had 100 shares and you're making those setups. You need to identify these setups, guys. You need to know what is hot in the market. What is hot? Stable coins are hot. What is the chart? Chart setup is pretty good. Weekly breakout, right? What sectors are strong today? Crypto is strong, right? It was not only this, right? You could trade Hood. Hood was a decent breakout. On that, it was also on our day 2 setup. If you take a look here, Hood was our day 2 setup. Then you could long MSTR, but the best setup was coin. And you do not pike. When you are in this long setup like coin, you hold it all day. So anyways, guys, everything I showed you, everything, no hindsight, no BS from me. I give you the targets beforehand. The swing setup I showed you the day trade, I showed you the pre-market planning, I showed you my step-by-step target guidance, and a beautiful long trade for the community, huge winner for everyone, really made up for those small losers in other trades. So the next setup we are going to look at is snow. You don't really need to focus on too many. There was many runners today, right? But I focused on the ones which are the strongest ones in the community. Why? Because of the daily, weekly chart. And Snow also had a news in the pre-market planning. We had Snow, which was bullish bias on pullback. What was the plan? Bullish bias, swing setup, hitting the targets. So what is this swing setup I keep talking about? Although we do not do a lot of swings in the community right now, but I try to share these on voice. I try to share the swing setups on my Twitter. I don't share too much, but if I see a good setup, I share it. And once we launch our swing trading and investment names, then we will discuss it. Okay, so what was so bullish about coin, right? So the setup on the coin was you risk 295 multi-year breakout. This is called multi-year breakout. You need to read this. It's not rocket science. It's easy. So that gave me that one day the Snow is going to move. It started to move, But if we want to look at that, a few times it started to consolidate over 200. The weekly chart did not break 200, did not break our 195 risks, did not break any of these level, and it was a range, weekly range breakout today. And we had news. What did we have? We had news. Morgan Stanley, that was the catalyst we needed, and we got that breakout today. All right, so let's look at the Snow trade in the community today. So let's see here. This one again, I mentioned the long on the voice, and as soon as the long started to work, I gave the stops of 220. Right, so you can see that I gave the stops on 220. You can still add here. I gave you the stops at 220, and you can hold it as long 512s hold. And I told the traders to move your stops up to 221, move the stops to 223, and I told them to take some profits at 225. And once it broke here, look at the timing. I said exit Snow. We would have lost $1 there if we did not exit. So that's the beauty, guys. You see that? So, and you can also see the levels on the day trade plan, how they were, 218, 220. Now, if I want to go back to the swing setup, the same thing. This gives me conviction to hold my day trade, right? This gives me the conviction to hold my day trade. So that was the breakout. Now we'll see, we're looking for more here. You can always sell half of your swing. We're looking for more for continuation towards 230 and then 237. That will be the resistance here. Right, so you need to identify these setups to trade your day trades, to do your swing trade, do your investments. Even if you're a long-term investor, this was a good setup. So learn from these. I have thousands of these examples on swing setups and trades where the weekly, monthly, higher time frame charts really help you to trade these setups. All right, so next one we're going to look at is HIMS. So HIMS was on our day 2 setup today, but it didn't really work. So it was a small loser. Why was it? Let's take a look. So HIMS started to call here, but you see that the candle really did not push over the 5. It tried to go, but this was a huge resistance here. So you try to long here, it's not working. You put your stop, you either stop out here. If you take this call, your stops are here, but it barely traded $2. Very tight range. So it did not work. So there's a failed trade there, but my traders know that when to stop out, so we stopped out of there. So that did not work. The beauty is that our losers are small. We do not let it get out of the hand. All right, so let's look at some more plays from the game plan. CRM was good. There were many plays. I didn't really focus too much. I actually had to step away from something. But let's look here. My focus were mainly coin and Snow, but we can look at some other plays. CRM, bullish bias on the pullback. Goldman Sachs. Whenever Goldman Sachs says something, you pay attention. Whenever Morgan Stanley says something, you pay attention, right? So whenever those big guys say something, you pay attention. AVG was okay, not as good as other names, but if you look at CRM went from the MTF to the MTF. What was it? MTF magnet setup. MTF, you long here, take it to the next MTF magnet setup. How many times have we talked about this MTF magnet setup, guys? Another repeatable setup. I didn't really guide much. Most of my traders took the pre-market planning and took that from there and nailed it. All right, so next one we're going to look at is Nectar. So Nectar was our low floor setup. It was not really, it was a lot of, I didn't really focus on it in the open, but it was our low floor setup. But I just want to point out, let's go to our low float sheet here, this 2691 pivot, 1885 support. And once it reclaimed that 1885 support, it became a long. This was a 512 long. Your stops will be under this candle, and you could easily trade it back all the way to high of the day. You see how the move was from 18 bucks to 97. These are low floors. You cannot size too big on those. But these are definitely good trade setups to trade these, big sell-off. But this is where you get long. So make sure you remember these setups. All right, so let's look at Circle. What was Circle doing here? Let's take a look. Circle today was, nothing special because it was very choppy. It was, it was choppy, and it was chop. It did give a little curl here, like gave a curl from 250s to 260s. But once it broke down, I told my traders, leave it alone. No trend. Neither is a bullish, neither is a bearish. Now, it did give a short later in the day. It was MTF short. And it did fade from 245 to 215, but the options are so crazy. There's so much IV. This is so crowded, but it broke 1 hour MTF. That means the trend has changed. So inherently it's a bearish trend. Maybe it fades down to 200 or something, but it's also even not a bad short put swing here. So we'll see what Circle does tomorrow. I didn't trade it. I didn't really do much with it, left it alone, but this was a nice short setup later in the day. All right, so what else? So what else was really good today? Let's take a look here. Uber was a good one. Let's see here, Uber. So Uber was had a news in the pre-market. We had it on our game plan. Let's take a look. Uber bullish bias, but no go under 290. No. So Uber was big gap up, cautious of the 512 break first. And then if it reclaims, you can long it. And the Uber just never broke the 512s. And just, broke out the pre-market highs and off to the races. I guess the news was pretty big. But the thing I like about Uber is the daily chart again. Such a good daily breakout, right? Weekly breakout, daily breakout. Such a good weekly breakout, right? If it breaks out of 93, it's probably going to go towards the 100 setup. So that's how you need to analyze some of those chart setups. So yeah, I mean, a lot of other names were, moving today. Our Horties list, ASTS was a nice curl there. Some other names were moving. SMR, that moved all day. So overall, the market is pretty healthy, pretty bullish. Now we back to the tariffs and we back to the China. We'll see what happens there. We'll see if we break out tomorrow on QQQs or SPY or not. That will be interesting to see, but that was it for me today. Not too much. A couple of losers and some good trade setups. Hopefully you learned something today from this video. Take care. Bye bye.